think, be willing to fail and be willing to be scared and, be willing to sort of know you haven't got the answers. Once you get past that.
Hi, Salma. I'm really, really happy to have you here with me. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Thank you, Fatima. Thank you so much for having me. It's quite, I'm excited.
Oh, listen, we talked this week and I learned a bit more about you. So I'm super excited for you to share your story and, just being here again as an inspiration, as an example of what's possible for a Muslim businesswoman. And you just started. So I think for me, it's the perfect time because you have all these mindset shifts happening and, you're going through this roller coaster that is called life. But it's super interesting. So I'm super excited to have you.
Yeah, I'm excited too. It's been quite the journey over the last 12 months. Definitely something that I've been thinking about for many, many, many years. I remember when I was probably in my 20s or 30s and so I always had a tick list in my life, I need to, this is what I'm aiming for next, tick. This is what I'm aiming for next, finish my degree, tick, get my first job, tick.
Right.
And one of my things on my tick list was to have my own business by the age of 40. And okay, that slipped a little bit because I'm a little bit over 40 now. Not quite 50. I'm not ready for that yet. But yeah, and I remember hitting 40 and thinking, I really wanted to start my own business. And I did start my own business at that time. And then I was passionate about. So it didn't really last very long because although it was more like I wanted to start a business because it was on my tick list and It wasn't really something that I felt passionate about. It wasn't even something that I actually really believed in. And I found quite early on that when I was talking to clients and I was, convincing them of this product, I didn't really believe in that product myself. And I felt like I was being almost like fraudulent in that respect.
Right.
That here's me selling this service, to my clients and then getting off the call and thinking, oh no, I wouldn't buy that. So yeah, it kind of went kaput quite quickly because I realized it wasn't what I wanted to do. And then I went back to the corporate world. So yeah, I suppose I could tell you a little bit of background. Graduated in IT and economics, and then went straight into the corporate world, which at the time was definitely what I wanted to do. I think from my perspective, my parents had worked really hard to support us in our education.
Yeah.
I remember growing up and, people saying to my parents, oh, you don't want your girls to go to university. I mean, who's going to marry them? I mean, they're just going to be, unmarriageable. So, why are you, pushing them to do this? And I think my parents, alhamdulillah, were quite focused on, they had 4 daughters. They wanted us to have that education and they wanted us to be financially independent in that respect. And my dad was very, very sort of clear about that as we were growing up, that, you're not gonna, you need to go out, you need to get that education, you need to get a job, and then you need to think about getting married so that you have your financial independence. And he always used to say to us, if you're financially independent, then you will always maintain your own power. And that was always very important to him. So yeah, I went into the corporate world, started climbing that corporate ladder, went from, one prestigious corporate company to another. And then it all kind of went kaput when COVID started. And I think there was my job, my role, I loved it. I enjoyed what I did. I enjoyed it, it was financially a blessing. But when I actually had time, I think COVID allowed me the first time, I suppose, in the 20 years to actually stop and reevaluate what I was doing. And, during that time, I had, done all of the things that I'd wanted to do. Well, maybe not all of them, but I'd got married and I'd bought my first house and I had the car that I wanted. I had 2 beautiful children. I got divorced, which probably wasn't on the tick list, but things happen, right? And I just kind of thought, is that all I really want? And I think that's when I started, being made redundant quite early on from a job that I felt was really important. I kind of felt like being that corporate person had become my identity. And the first day I woke up and I did not have to log on at a certain time, it was almost like I didn't know what else to do with my life. I didn't know who I was, not getting up and getting ready and going to the office. It was a real sort of eye-opener for me, because suddenly I was like, well, who am I? And so I spent a little bit of time reflecting on who I actually was and what I actually really wanted to do in the next 10 years. And I knew that quite early on that I didn't want to go back to the corporate world. I wanted to actually do something which I'd been thinking about for many years, really, probably since my own divorce, to really sort of serve women that were going through, this awful time in their life without the support, without the information. And, I often wondered how, what support there was out there for Asian Muslim women in terms of, saying to them, it's okay. It's okay to put yourself first. It's okay, if you're incredibly unhappy or you are in a marriage where, your needs and your values don't align, it's okay to say, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And so many women don't have that, the confidence, the strength. They don't have the support around them in terms of family. It's still a massive taboo in many of our Muslim communities.
Right.
And I couldn't, I found that very difficult to understand, because from my knowledge, of our religion, it's the most liberating religion for women that exists. We have so many rights, and we have, and I'm not sure that we as women are always aware of those.
We don't. If you don't have the education, most of us, and even I, even if you live in the West, where we had the opportunity to go and study and, do all of that, it's really hard if you don't dive into, the written words and the explanations, and you learn about it, you educate yourself, you don't know about these. And
no,
and you just, what we've learned is all about the cultural side of it, what our parents and, what we see around us. But it's difficult now that, we have the opportunity to say, listen, I'm going to get back to who I am, and I'm going to learn about my rights, because I have the resources, that I can access to. It's doable, but I have to make it happen, because again, it's another empowering, thing to do for ourselves, for sure. So I'm super excited that that you went through this, because it's really important. Yeah.
Well, I remember quite early on, I mean, I wouldn't say I was a rebellious child, but I've always been quite outspoken. And I remember growing up in my teens and, in my early 20s, and saying to my mum, well, if that is something that is religion, then yes, I'm going to think about it. But if that is something that is cultural, then I'm not interested.
Yeah.
And she would be, like, oh, but that was, that always resonated with me, that, please don't tell me to do something because it's going to make you look good in society, or this is, what society expects of us, or this is what, so-and-so's daughter is doing, or so-and-so's, I'm not interested in that. What I'm interested in is what is God asking me to do? As long as I'm living within those, sort of restrictions, then I'm fine. I'm not answerable to Auntie G down the road or, Uncle G living, across town, because they're not who I'm going to ultimately answer to.
Right. And this is a huge awareness thing to have, it's amazing. It reminds me of me, like I've always been confrontational lovingly with my mom. So yes. I had the opportunity and the luck, you may call it, to grow up in a family that was open to conversations. Yes. And yes. We don't agree on most things, but we're still like a family. And we had all these like heated discussions, and Algerians were loud. So it's like, crazy things happening in the house. But having this knowledge of I'm just answerable to the highest power that we have, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and still, having the confidence and having the awareness of like, I'm going to stand up for what I believe. And I want to make my own, story line for my life.
Yeah. And
as long as it follows, the rules of our creator, I'm fine with it. Like, so you're going to the basics. We're just going to the basics.
Yeah. And, in all religions, regardless of, which religion you follow, they teach some very basic fundamentals of kindness and love and honesty. Right. And, these kind of things. They're not, then, no religion tells you to go out and hurt people. Right. It's about, this is, and if we can live by those like sort of fundamentals, then, I don't think we can go wrong.
100%. And this is where people, I think, deviate, where we all deviate, is like when we start to focus on the details or the important stuff, this is where we get lost. Like, let's master the basics. And it's already huge, and it takes a lifetime to do. So you don't have time. I always go by the thought of like, you don't have time to focus on these things. Like, master the basics. It takes a lot of time, effort, resources, energy, It's like, you don't have time.
Yeah.
I love it. So you told us about your story. Now you're coaching then about divorce. Yes. So I want to know more about that.
Yeah. So then basically I thought, right, you know what? It's now or never. Right. Mm-hmm. I'd always, I suppose my biggest fear always is that if I leave this, IT role that pays me this fixed amount every month, being a single parent, I'm going to end up losing my house. How am I going to feed my kids? And I had this story in my head that, I remember saying this so many times throughout my career. Oh God, my kids would hate me if I was a stay-at-home mom. I don't know where that came from, because I just kind of thought, because I only saw my children in the morning and, obviously in the evenings, and then we'd always have activities on the weekends. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of thought, well, if I was here all the time, surely they would be like, oh God, this is too much for us. And I suppose I realized that, COVID, being stuck in the house with my two kids and, getting through the first couple of months after losing my job. And I stopped and I thought, well, we're all still here. We're alive, we're fed, we're happy. The kids aren't sort of going, Mom, leave us alone. And that's when I thought, you know what, it's got to be now or never. I either turn my back on the corporate world and really go into what I want to do, or I wake up in 10 years' time, potentially being made redundant from yet another job, and then think, oh God, I'm just, that's it. I've just wasted the last 10 years. So I jumped on a coaching course. I'd done coaching in various different forms throughout my sort of IT career in an unofficial capacity. It was the part of my job that I always loved. But I felt like I needed to sort of like learn properly. I'm a big nerd. So I like to, I like to learn, and I like to have the qualifications, and I like exams. It gives me the confidence to think, yes, I know what I'm talking about, and I've learned from other people that have done it for years. So I jumped on this coaching course and started reaching out. I realized that the only way that I was going to build up my confidence was to just start coaching. And so I reached out to my network and I said, guys, this is what I'm training to do. And I really need some pro bono clients because I want them to, firstly, I want to build up my confidence to know that I kind of like can actually, create a coaching session and, go through the various steps. But most importantly, I want them to give me feedback and tell me, that was rubbish, do that differently next time, or this was great. And so very quickly I started working. I mean, it all happened very quickly. Very quickly, I started working with 3 or 4 pro bono clients. And it was hard because literally the morning before my sessions, I would be nervous and I'd be scared and I'd be making notes and putting everything out and thinking, right, I need to refer to this, I need to do this, I need to do that. And it was really scary. I mean, freaking out. And then I'd be like sort of doing my own meditation, 15 minutes before the session, thinking, okay. And then I realized that actually when I was on the actual referring to the notes after the first or second session, because I was just getting into, and, I'd come off the calls and then I'd get an email or a text message from the client, and, their words would just like sort of make me feel like amazing that I had, helped these women at a time where they were, in some circumstances, incredibly sad and felt incredibly stuck. And just to be able to provide them with that space where they could just offload in some cases and just sort of see the situation from a different angle, it just opening up their sort of options. And I think that's where my confidence started building. And I thought to myself, right, the only way I'm going to build up this confidence is I need to do a minimum number of coaching sessions every week, because the more I do them, the easier it's going to get. So I reached out to all of my, and I said to them, right, guys, I'm not coaching you in the sense that I know we're not supposed to coach. What I want to practice is my style and my tools and things like that. So I want you guys to all give me 1 hour a week, okay, where I can coach you. And this is going to sound awful, but I said to them, I'm not really interested whether you guys get any like benefit from that, because obviously we're quite close and, you're not going to come up to me, but it's going to really help me. So if you could, give me that time, yes, I hope that in the process I will be able to help you. But for me, it's really about me, like, working on my skill and knowing how I can get good at this. And I want you to be really brutally honest and tell me how, what I can do better. And that really worked, because it kind of, really pushed me to, it was almost as if because I was coaching people that I really knew, I had to really step up my game, because I cared about these people's opinions.
Yes.
And, they're really important to me. So I really wanted to give them some value. So, yeah, I think that was one of the biggest learnings, was to just put myself out there. And, despite the fact that I was scared and I kind of had this imposter syndrome thing going on, thinking, you're not a coach, you're an IT consultant. You've been an IT consultant for like 20 odd years, How can you just become a coach in like, a year's time? And so that's where it all started. I got my first paying client in December. Then got my next paying client in sort of January. And it's just gone from there. And now I suppose it's what I live for now.
This is awesome. Oh my gosh. What a journey. Thank you, COVID. I think, a lot of people are thanking COVID because it really put everything in a new perspective. And for some people, they didn't see it as an opportunity. So they really suffered, through this process. But other people that were like, oh, that's an opportunity to see, okay, where I'm at with my life, like Am I happy? What is going on? And having this break, and you made the work, the reflection, and you decided to take action to really change your life because you weren't happy. And I think that's beautiful, and that's truly, the confidence of, listen, I'm just gonna put myself first, just like you said, with your clients, just to practice. I'm just gonna put myself first, because you have to, if you want to help people, right? If you want to increase your competences, you can't always put yourself second base. You're not going to
Yeah.
get there, like fast enough. And this is your livelihood, like you
Yeah.
quit your job. So you didn't have any plan B. This was, plan A, plan B, plan C. So you had to work on it. And I love that you had the courage to do it and say, and also the vulnerability to be objective with yourself. I think that's the most important thing, and a skill that everybody needs to master, is to be real with yourself. And
Yeah.
it's really uncomfortable, yes, and
Yes.
it's not going to feel great. But I always say, focus on the end result. Like, where do you want to go? Right?
Yes.
Focus on that. I just want to have results. So
Yeah.
whatever it takes, I'm just going to do it and get through the, like, weird sucking feelings, that I'm
Yeah.
having, and just getting myself
Yeah.
out there. And I love, this is the lesson that you've learned. One of the biggest
Yeah.
lessons that you've learned.
Yeah. And I think, be willing to fail, and be willing to be scared.
Yeah.
And, be willing to sort of know you haven't got the answers.
Yes.
And, once you get past that, I remember the first, so I got invited on a call. So a lady reached out to me on Instagram and said, "Oh, I run this support group for divorced women. Would you come and do a presentation?" And obviously I said, "Yeah, of course, I'd love to." And then I kind of thought, "Oh my God, what am I going to do a presentation on?" I don't know. It's a very early on in my coaching journey. And I remember going on this call, and you could see the numbers going up. And in my head, I thought, oh, there'll be about, 5, 6 women. This is going to be a piece of cake. I love talking. I'm sure I'll find something to talk about. And then I suddenly saw the numbers going up, 34, 35, 36, got to about 60 women. And
wow.
Suddenly I was thinking, oh my God, I'm talking to like 60 women here. This is like, way out of my comfort zone. And in the end, I just had to, almost like quickly self-coach myself and say, listen, the numbers don't matter. Your message is the same.
Yeah.
And I remember, my hands shaking and my chest like starting to beat as the numbers went up. But once I'd done it, I just thought, cool, that wasn't too bad. And the feedback I got, was just so amazing that actually I thought, yes, if she had told me beforehand there'd be about 60, 70 women on this call, I may have backed out and thought, oh, I'm not ready for that. But it was just, I was in that situation. I had to take control. My message was going to be the same, whether there were like 6 women there or 60 women there.
Right.
And I just had to just go, full in and think, right, I'm just gonna do this, and hope, so yeah, so that was great. So I think it is really about facing your fears and not letting that sort of, increasing heartbeat and that churning in your stomach and that sort of, that voice in your head that's saying to you, no, don't do this today, do it tomorrow, do it next week, or do it next month. And you just think, no, exactly, I'm just going to do this. And, if it doesn't work out, at least I'll have learned something from it.
Oh, I love it. This is the mindset that I want everybody to have, because it's so liberating, right? Like the moment you know that and you consciously understand it, like 1 + 1 = 2, you're like, this is the process, right? It's going to be here, whether I want it or not. The only difference is, am I going to take action? And again, yes, if you want to know what may happen, the only way is to take action. Because if you stay in your head, it's going to be only, in your head, and it's still going to be a theory. So you will never have an answer. So just to have that answer, you got to take action. And I love that you went through this, and you said, okay, I have my self-talk. So this is one way to overcome your fear. Have you made something else to overcome your fears and your doubt? Because we talked about the confidence competence loop. When you said, listen, to increase my confidence, I understood that I needed to increase my competence, right? So I had to put on more hours of coaching because I realized that worked for my confidence. And you have your self-talk, like, first of all, the awareness of these thoughts, these feelings happening. I think this is huge because a lot of people don't know that they're happening because they're not in tune with themselves enough. So having the awareness and then the self-talk, what am I gonna do? And like you enter this like negotiation process with yourself,
Yes.
right? Like,
Yes.
are you gonna do it or not? So I love it. Do you have something else that worked for you to beat your fear and doubt so far?
Um, I think really just stepping into the fact that I was a coach. I think the first time I introduced myself as a coach was I was at a small gathering in between COVID restrictions. It was my best friend's birthday, and she said, "Oh, I'm getting some girls together, just come over." And I said, "Oh, that's great." And I was talking to this lady that I'd never met before. And so we just started talking, and she said to me, "Oh, so what do you do?" And I went, there was a moment in my head where I thought, oh, what do I do? Am I an unemployed IT consultant or am I a coach? And I said to her, "Oh, I'm a coach." And she went, "Really? What kind of coaching do you do?" And I remember talking to her for the next half an hour, and then walking away thinking, oh my God, that's the first time I've openly said I am a coach. And it was about really stepping into that identity and owning it and not feeling ashamed of it. I didn't say I was an amazing coach, which I do believe I am now.
Love it.
But at that but I mean, I believed that I was a coach. And I think it's really about owning that identity and stepping into it, getting up every morning and telling yourself, whatever like line of work you do, that this is what I am, and this is who I am, and I own it. And, this is my style. Like, as a coach, these are the things that I apply these same things to my clients for them to own who they are. Some of the women that I work with have completely lost their identity during the course of their marriage and, then their divorce or their breakup. And it's about going back and saying, like, who are you? You were somebody.
Yeah.
You were somebody, during the divorce. And what you need to do is like sort of rediscover who you really are and then own that. Your life has not ended because your relationship has ended.
Right.
There is so much more that you can do. There is so much more that you can give to this world. But it's about, being a wife is not an identity. Being a mother is not your only identity. You are a whole person. You are you. And these are the things that I try to teach my clients. And it's, stuff that is really sort of like the stuff that I've gone through, I think.
And it's about, this is the beauty of coaching, like when we start to coach is always what is the foundation is our own experience. And that's what differentiate every coaches, right? Is even if we went through the same training, for example, what's differentiated is our own experience. And this is huge when you value yourself, when you value your experience, both good and bad, because all of that, the sum of that is what makes you today. This is amazing. This is the gift that we can give other people.
Yes.
When you enter a relationship is really, whether like on a personal, professional level, is truly, this is me, my story, my experiences, my brain that I'm offering to you. And we're different and we're gonna learn automatically from it, from our relationship and interactions. So it's huge, 100%.
Yeah. So I think, that's one thing, to really dig deep to determine who you want to be. and then step into that role.
Right.
And think, this is who I want to be. This is what makes me happy. And, stepping into that person, wanting to be happy, wanting to be confident, doesn't mean automatically label us as a rebel.
Yes.
And this is one of the things that I, like to teach women, that just because you're putting yourself first doesn't make you a bad wife, doesn't make you a bad mother, doesn't make you a bad daughter, sister, whatever roles, we are juggling. There are ways to be able to put yourself first, live in alignment with your values and needs, and still be good at all of those things. But what very often we're taught in our culture is everybody else's needs come first.
Yeah.
You are bottom of the list. And very often you never get to the bottom of the list because there's not enough time in the day to even have 2 minutes to yourself.
And that's huge. That I would love to go, into that topic. You have to come back, Salma, because we can talk for hours. And I feel like, especially this month and for the coming 2 months, one of my main topic for my audience is going to be confidence for women, Muslim women especially. And we know that this is a huge topic that, we need to educate people in and to show them what's possible for them to believe, right? Because it wasn't an example that were present in their life anyway, for most of them, unfortunately. So I think we can talk about this. If you're willing to come back, I would love to have you on, and talk about this, because I feel like your experience and the fact also that you're an Asian Muslim woman, because I'm an Arab Muslim woman, so we have different things, and I'm Algerian. So also, even if we're like sharing the same thing, I think it's really important to have also your point of view and your own experience, so we make it, more richer for people, when they watch us and listen to us.
I'd love to come back. As you can probably tell, I love talking and I love inspiring women. And I'm just like, like sometimes I'm just like just come on, let's just do this. Like I get so excited when I speak to new clients, because there's almost like I'm thinking, right, let's start today. And they're like, oh, I can't book until next week. And I'm thinking, oh, no, we want to okay. Because I just think, I get so excited when people reach out and tell me, do you know what, I've had enough. I've really had enough. And I want to move forward from this, whatever it is they're going through. And I'm like, do you know what? Let's do this. Because you should not be living a life where you wake up every day thinking, I've had enough. That's not being grateful to the life that God has given us.
Yes.
Right? We are, in some ways, it's disrespectful to wake up every morning thinking, oh God, do I really have to live another day? Do I really have to get through another day? And, that's not us being grateful to God.
Yes.
That's actually, that's it. We should be waking up every day saying, I'm so happy that I'm here and I really want to make a difference to someone's life in whichever capacity you're able to, whether that's your parents or your husband or your children or your work, but you should be happy to wake up.
Yeah, 100%. I love it. This is a huge topic for sure. I don't understand when people tell me, I'm bored, or like, how can you be bored? It's like, there's so many things to do. Like, what is going on here? And we can't afford to be bored anymore. Like, you can learn to like a new skill or to, a new hobby, or you can meet new people randomly on the internet. Now it's possible, with if you softwares that can do it. So there is always something to do. And it goes back to, am I really grateful, for the life that I have? And so I always say, the end goal here while working with me, for example, or just taking coaching or growing, is to live your best life. And this can take many different looks for everybody, and that's the power of it, is truly like, do I know what my best life look like?
Yes.
And then waking up every single day to make it happen is huge.
Yes.
This is huge. And you don't have time to get bored, for sure.
No. And it's about taking action.
Yeah.
Because, this is what I say to a lot of my clients. if you don't know what you want,
Mm-hmm.
how are you going to take any action towards achieving it? Because
Yes.
you're just sort of, sort of walking through life, taking a left, taking a right, taking a, whatever, and
Yeah.
without any destination in mind. So
Yeah.
you're never going to get anywhere. You're just going to be going round and round, the
Yes.
circles of life.
Yeah.
But once you decide where you want to be, how you want to be, who you want to be, yeah, it's not a straight line. You're not just going to get up one morning and be that person.
Yeah.
But you can start walking that journey, and you'll be going under things and jumping over things and taking a detour. Might go around the roundabout a couple of times, but you'll find your exit.
Yeah.
And eventually you'll be moving slowly in the direction that you want to be.
Yeah. I love it. Salma, coming to an end of our conversation, this amazing conversation. I just loved it. Is there any questions that I haven't asked you wanted me to ask you?
I think we've covered quite a lot today.
Yeah.
We've gone off on a lot of tangents, but I think, I love the work that you do, and, it's just so inspiring. And I think that, there are so many of us women working out in this Muslim arena that can really inspire like so many women. And we need that, we need women to start believing in themselves. I see this an issue in the West as well.
Yeah.
It's not just amongst Asian Muslim women.
Yeah.
We talk about, sort of, in the workplace and in society, but I think it's much more magnified within our Asian Muslim community and Muslim communities across the world, where women are not encouraged to be bold, be confident, to take ownership of their lives.
And I think what's new is also having other Muslim women, cheering on you, inspiring you.
Yeah.
We didn't have that. We were quite isolated, and the fact that now with the internet, instant communication, you can have access to these women that are crushing it. And we're a private community. We most of us, they don't go out there, put themselves on a video or do that. It's really like a few, I feel like, I'm a new thing out there because I'm really comfortable being on camera. But being comfortable on camera, being on camera and having the right message is huge. This is what's new for us, because we always heard the negative, discrimination, women's right, but no, this is not what is happening. This is part of the reality, but it's not the whole reality. Let me show you another part of the reality.
Yes.
And this part is other Muslim women crushing it, and I want to be and I want to see them with my own eyes to really be inspired, because again, we can learn, business principles, we can learn, life principles from others, especially living in the West where we're in a minority. But again, it's limiting at some point, because we don't have the same culture, we don't have the same religion. So at some point, there is something limiting. So having us Muslim women saying, listen, this is what I've been through. You're not alone, first of all. We almost go through the same things, and I'm a Muslim woman, and this is how I dealt with it, and I've been succeeding at it. And this is super inspiring. We didn't have that.
No. And, we need these role models to step up.
Yeah.
Because when we see somebody else out there, successful, crushing it, being their authentic self.
Yeah.
It's not, we can learn from these women. And, if somebody else can do it, then it's possible for you to do it too.
Love it.
There's enough space in this world for all of us to aspire to be that.
Yeah. Stop limiting. I mean, the earth is so huge, and we're living truly in an abundance time, abundance of resources, abundance of place, information. You can have everything. It's really stop thinking. I think it's a work of the shaitan when you're limitation, or you don't have enough, or you don't. No, there are so much. So I always try to think, and I think this is the breakthrough that I had last year, expansion. Like
Yes.
what defines, what is the work of my creator? It's always expanding. They always tell us, the universe is always expanding and everything is huge. So why are you limiting yourself? And I think that this is the biggest lesson that I've learned last year, is truly turn around and say, oh, we live in an abundant world. Let me, get my share of it, because there are there is plenty for everybody. And I want to go after my share. So this is amazing.
And if you go after it, what's the worst thing that could happen?
Yeah.
That's what I always ask my clients. What's the worst thing that could happen? Okay, so you get a no, or you fail, or, but do you know what? You pick yourself up, you learn the lessons, and you go for it again. You find a different way, but you have to be focused on what you want to get. You have to be prepared to fail, and you have to be prepared to learn from those failures.
On this note, where can people find you?
So I am on Instagram at Salma Khan Coaching. I have a Facebook page, a business page, again, called Salma Khan Coaching. And I also have a website where people can get in touch with me. It's www.salmakhancoaching.co.uk. On email, on Instagram. And let's see how we can get you out of this rut that you may be feeling you're in. Divorce is very confusing, it's very hurtful, it feels like in some cases a massive failure. Let's work through those emotions, and let's sort of start rebuilding your life so that you can sort of reclaim who you are.
Love it. So we're going to link everything in the description, whether it's in the podcast or on a YouTube channel for sure. And again, ladies, if you are going through a divorce, or, you don't have to go through it alone. And I think having someone that went through it and is also in a capacity of helping you, coaching you, supporting you on a professional side is really important, without judgment. So this is the beauty of coaching, and you can reach out to Salma. So Salma, I want to thank you. I love that you've been referred to me. Like, this is the magic of social media, and I'm really happy to have this conversation, and I'm feeling really grateful and blessed to have met you. And I think definitely because we love talking, we'll jump in other calls for sure. And
we might have to have
something.
Yeah, we might have to have a full-time YouTube channel where we just get on and we just talk.
Right. It's like, okay, a life of a Muslim businesswoman, and we're different ages, so we can, talk to different also segments of women. And certainly we have different experiences, like I'm still single, I have no children. So I have like another life and another view of the world that you have. And this is magical when we come in and just, have a conversation and exchange and understand, at a foundational level, what we're going through as a person, in a mindset and in the emotion is like, oh yeah, we can connect on that. And this is really the power of I think humanity. So being a human being.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, thank you so much for having me. And yes, I'd love to talk again. We'll be in touch.
Awesome. Thank you so much.